Hello everyone, it's Livia here, aka Story Minded, and I'm going to be making a very different video today. I'm going to be talking about the IGCSEs for English Language on the Edexcel Pearson exam specification. I'm going to hopefully start doing some videos to help students who are taking their GCSE, or if you're sort of in secondary education, just to try and offer some support. Just to clarify before I start these videos, I'm not a teacher, so please don't take my advice as gospel. I'm just passionate about English as a subject, and I'm currently at uni doing my English and creative writing degree. So yeah, okay. What I'm going to do for this video is I'm not really going to go into too much detail about it. I'm just going to use this video in a way to help me and to give a bit. I don't know why my camera just suddenly changed colour, that was weird. I'm going to sort of give a brief overview of the different pathways that are available. Obviously every person's sort of school or where they're studying is going to be different, so I can't give you specific details on how it will work depending on where you are. But for the first one, English Language A, oh yeah, and this is for English language, I'm not looking at literature yet. Paper 1 is all to do with non-fiction texts and transactional writing. That's a wonderful, complex way of saying written communication. So transactional writing is any writing that is trying to communicate something to someone, whether that be trying to persuade, communicate a particular message, or to inform someone of something. That's all that means. That's what examiners and people tend to like to do. They like to overcomplicate things. It's a 2-hour and 15-minute exam. What fun. 60% of the total marks. Section A, and it's on Section A, which is reading. You have a series of short and long answer questions based on one non-fiction text, and there's also one unseen text, and then that's your sort of first exam. The second paper, paper 2, is to do, which is worth 40%, is to do with poetry and prose and imaginative writing, which, unlike the first paper, this paper is to do with fiction. It's 1 hour and 30 minutes, worth 40%. Section A is reading. Sorry, I have to look down because I've sort of written all these notes down. It's one essay on either a poetry or a prose piece, so you don't know what you'll get, and it'll be from part 2 of the anthology. And what I'm planning on doing, I will sort of look at the anthologies that are available, and I'll try and do some videos on like how I would personally analyse a piece of poetry, and I'll look at the exam sort of questions that already exist, and I'll try and break them down for people. And I will also just say, obviously from year to year, or every few years or so, our wonderful government seem to really enjoy switching it up and completely changing the mark schemes and completely changing what the GCSE actually is. So this video may not be accurate for you if you're sort of at the beginning of your secondary education. Don't assume that what I say now will be relevant to you when you actually sit your GCSEs, because a lot can change in a few years, unfortunately, because they like to complicate it and make it hard for everyone. And then section B on the paper 2 is to do with imaginative writing. So this is where you get to actually write, and it's just one response from a choice of 3 questions. But then this is the quite interesting thing about this pathway. There's also another option to do coursework and an optional speaking task. So I'll just quickly mention what that entails. For the paper 3, for the coursework, there are 2 assignments. There's one essay on any 2 poetry or prose texts from the second part of the anthology, so like paper 2, they're the same. And you have to write a commentary on why you picked those 2 particular texts on any 2 poetry or 2 prose texts from the anthology, and you explain why you chose to write about them. And section B for that coursework is one writing task, which I'm assuming will be similar to the one where you get to pick a response and the other choices. And then for the last bit of this video, if you don't do it, that's for the IGCSE English Language A pathway. If you don't do that pathway, there is the English Language IGCSE B Pathway, and this is just one paper that's worth 100% of the marks, and it basically incorporates everything. Oh, and there's also the chance to do the optional speaking presentation, but I won't go into too much detail about that. It's basically just a recorded, and this is when I was working at the college, this is what our GCSE students were doing. It's just a recorded 10-minute max presentation. You present it to the teacher and your classmates, and for our students, they got the chance to like create a presentation on anything that interested them, and it's just a formal presentation, and then at the end your teachers or your classmates will ask you questions and you just have to respond to them on the spot, and it's fine. It's nothing to worry about if that's something you end up doing. So for this English B, there's one paper, it's 100%, it's a 3-hour exam. Section A is the 2 unseen non-fiction texts with the long and short answers. The section B is a directed writing task, and it will be based on ideas presented in section A with a focus on audience, purpose and form. And then for the last section of this paper, there's section C, which is another writing task, and this is the same writing task as in paper 2. It's one writing task from a choice of 3, and it will either be a discursive, narrative or descriptive piece of writing. Now, just looking at that, discursive, narrative, descriptive, the discursive is most likely going to be more of a non-fiction text, so like a realistic text. It could be maybe a newspaper article, writing a food critic review, all those kind of things. The narrative is more likely to be fiction, although you can have creative non-fiction like travel writing, memoirs, autobiographies, but narrative usually entails fiction, so that'll be like your opening of a novel, short stories, things like that. And then the descriptive is kind of like almost like a happy medium of both. It could be a sort of creative non-fiction piece or descriptive. Once again, that's kind of going into the realms of fiction, but it all depends on the questions. And as I don't have an example of them at the moment, I can't really give a specific example. So anyway, this was just a little overview to sort of introduce you to the IGCSE English Language papers. If any of you have any questions, please feel free to comment below. I know I kind of went through that quite quickly, and it's weird getting my head back around this because obviously many years ago since I've done my own GCSEs, it's like way in the past for me. So anyway, thank you for watching, and I'm going to now make the video on the mark scheme to hopefully break that down. Bye.